What's going on, traders? A few things to talk about. It's going to be a pretty long video. We're going to talk about the SPY, triple Qs, Bitcoin, gold, VIX, and where we could potentially go from here. Before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So right now, in the Discord, we crushed it. All right, we absolutely crushed it today. We talked about SPY puts. I pretty much alerted Discord members that I'm looking at 585 puts from May 30th. I also said that May 23rd is fine. I was looking at the 2-hour time frame, and then I alerted that I am in 585 puts from May 30th. We got in at 4.70. We ended up taking profit at 7.00. So a nice little $230 profit there per contract. And then we doubled back down into SPY puts. Once again, we got into in the money puts 586 strike from May 27th at 4.50. I ended up taking some profit or trimming some contracts at around 4.73, letting Discord members know that 585 is going to be a tough trend line to break. We eventually ended up breaking 585, and then I ended up leaving runners 4 to 586 puts. So ultimately ended up taking profit at 7.91. So we got in at 4.50, ended up taking profit at 7.91, and then we got into IWM puts, I believe yesterday, 180 puts for December 19th. We ended up getting in at 4.36, and then we took profit today at 5.66. So absolutely crushed it in the Discord. Winners tab, this guy right here, up 15K on the SPY. Beautiful play there. This guy right here, he's up $177 today. This is me right here. Got into some SPY puts. I'm showing my SPY puts 585 puts, made about 1,400, 200% on that play. This guy right here, he made $4,655 for the day. She made about $147 on the Apple puts, 200 puts. Our Discord bot alerted that play. This guy right here, he's been killing it as usual. Another winner there. Guy right here, he made about $2,880 today. I mean, absolutely beautiful day for a lot of us in the Discord. She made $374 off of QQQ puts. This guy right here, he made $163 off the SPY puts that was alerted, and IWM puts as well. This was the Discord bot alert right here. This guy right here, $241. I mean, the list goes on, and we can just keep going. Apple puts, this is me right here. I made $1,250 off Apple puts. I actually made a little bit more than that and ended up closing for a decent amount of profit. So Discord link will be in the description below. And yeah, let's get straight into the chart. So right now we are looking at the NQ, and this is something we've been talking about for quite some time. Since the month of April, I told you guys that I do believe another rug pull is going to happen within the month of May. Of course, a lot of people expected it to happen the next day or the next week. No matter how many times I said the month of May, people just seem not to get that part, right? And a lot of you did, hear me out. You understood what I was saying. A lot of you actually took the time to comprehend and listen, so I do appreciate you. But the question is this the actual rug pull that I was talking about? And I do believe this is it, okay? I do believe we're going to see more downside when it comes to the overall market. And so we're going to talk about how much more downside we're looking at here. So if we're looking at the NQ, our key level that we talked about in the last few videos was 21,300, and then our next level is 21,100. We're looking at the 4-hour time frame here. And right now, as you guys can see, we broke this trend. So we bounced here, we bounced here, we bounced here, we broke down, we ended up retesting our level of 21,500, and we broke down again, and we got below that level of 21,300, 21,250 more or less. And now we are sitting at support all over again. So these guys right about here, okay, these guys right here, this is what we're looking at. So if we manage to break below 21,130, 21,120 more or less, then we are pretty illiquid towards the downside, and we can see a move towards 20,900, 20,800. Lowest I'm looking at right now is about 20,700. I do think we're going to head lower. We do have news tomorrow. I think it's unemployment claims, so probably will play a part in us heading much lower in the overall stock market. As far as upside goes, if we're talking about potential upside here, it goes without saying 21,500 is your key level. We saw that the NQ was having a very hard time breaking above this, so obviously you want to see a bounce from here, break, retest, and then chances are you're heading towards 21,700, 21,800. Highest you're looking at is about 22K. All right, so that's what we're looking at when it comes to the NQ. If you zoom out, I mean, you see this massive rising wedge pattern as well. I do imagine if we're going to continue to head towards the downside, that chances are we're going to head towards this gap fill right here, because we have multiple gap fills, and I've never seen the futures market leave so many gap fills towards the downside. ETFs, sure. SPY, triple Qs, I've seen that plenty of times. But multiple gap fills on the futures market is just so rare. All right. Maybe I wasn't trading when it happened, but I've been trading for 12 years, guys. I've never seen it. So I do imagine that if we are going to continue to head lower, we would at minimum at least fill this gap fill here. We'll see. All right. At around 20,200. All right. So we'll see. ES. So interesting enough, one thing I was paying attention to today was the ES was not, even though you had certain stocks pumping like Nvidia, you had Google pumping, you had Goog pumping, right? Even though they were pumping towards the upside, ES could not get above 59.50. It tried, right? It kind of wicked above it, but ultimately it ended up failing. And I was paying attention to that, and I was telling Discord members, be careful marrying the idea of calls, right? Because ES and even the SPY were having a very hard time just breaking above their key levels. SPY 592, ES 5950. And so we saw that pretty much play out. So Google was pumping, everything was pumping, or at least a few names were pumping, but ultimately you just were not seeing that reflect on the SPY and the ES and even the NQ. And so we ended up rejecting from 595 on the ES, and it looks like we're going to head a little bit lower. I imagine we're going to head towards 5800 as long as we stay below this key level of 5870. Chances are we're heading towards 5800. Well, I would say this: if we break below 5850, then we're heading towards 5800 at that point. All right, so you want to see a break and retest of 5850, and then from there you're looking at a move all the way towards 5800. Lowest you can go if you manage to break below 5800 here, so right about here, you're looking at a move all the way towards the low 5700s, right where this gap fill is all over again. So again, I imagine just like the NQ, the ES is going to want to fill these gaps towards the downside, or at least one of these gaps towards the downside, before we even think about heading towards all-time highs, right? And like I've been saying, I don't think we're at the point of heading towards all-time highs. I don't think there's enough news to condone us heading towards all-time highs. And not only that, I think institutions want to be a part of this rally, right? And like I said before in the last video or two, hedge funds are going to look for a reason to dump the market because they missed out on the rally, so they want a part of this rally. So I think this is it. I think this is the opportunity they are looking for. They're going to be looking for discounts, and I do believe this is it. I think maybe Nvidia earnings can really get the market to rally again. We'll have to wait and see, but for now I do imagine that this is the dump that hedge funds are looking for in order to get in on the rally, because ultimately this was a retail trader's market. All right, so that's what we're looking at for ES when it comes to downside. Upside goes without saying, 5970, 5980 more or less. If you get above that, then obviously you're heading towards 6,000. Highest you could be looking at is at the top of this rising wedge, 6,040, 6,050. Well, we look at the SPY. All right, so SPY, yeah, looking pretty good here as far as downside goes. So when it comes to the SPY, all right, so one thing we did do when it comes to this trade here, I let Discord members know that there's an imbalance at 592, so chances are we're going to retest 592. All right, so 592 is what I was looking at, and I even said it in the traders tab here. Right, so I pretty much gave an idea on what I was looking at when it comes to the SPY, right? Looking at SPY 585 puts, where is it? I think it was in another tab, but regardless, when it comes to the SPY, one thing I was looking for before I traded to the downside, because it already broke this trend, right? It already broke this trend. We go to the 2-hour time frame because that's where I base my entries off of. It already broke this trend, but what I was looking at here is an imbalance towards the upside. And if you don't know what an imbalance is, it can be a gap, it can be a fair value gap, or it can be like two candles not touching each other. So for example, right here, let's get rid of this real quick so you guys get a better idea. So for example, right here, you have a wick here, but you have the body of this candle touching the wick. This is an imbalance, all right? And one thing I tell you guys all the time is that the market does not like imbalances. So at some point in time, this area is going to have to get filled. So before I jumped into those SPY puts or alerted those SPY puts to Discord members, I wanted to see this imbalance get filled. Yes, we broke below this trend, we closed below this trend, but I did not want to enter the SPY puts while we had this, I guess you could say, gap open or imbalance open. And so what happened was we ended up retesting this area, we ended up getting rid of that imbalance, and then we broke down. Bulls got trapped up here, you ended up breaking down. And so that was the play. Beautiful setup. absolutely called it down to the T. As you guys can see, bears are very much present here. I mean, these are not bears, these are moose. These are 100 packs of Pomeranians gnawing at your ankles. Basically, land piranhas. All right, that's exactly what Pomeranians are. They are piranhas on land. All right. So yeah, would you rather get attacked by a bear or 100 land piranhas, Pomeranians, gnawing at your ankles consistently until you're just done? I don't know. I'll take the bear. The bear just one swipes me, I'm done. All right. Mini piranhas, done for. All right. But ultimately, when we're talking about downside here, people are like, what's up with him and Pomeranians? But ultimately, when you're talking about downside here, when it comes to the SPY, right, 585 is your key level. All right, 585. Now we closed below this key level. Okay, we closed below this key level, so chances are we talked about that move to 582, right? And so we are at 582, but I do think the SPY is going to head much lower. So we broke trend, right? We bounced here, we bounced here, we bounced here. We cleared out that imbalance at 592. And then we ended up breaking down. We're below 585. Chances are we're heading towards 580 at this point if we manage to get below 582. So right about here where these guys are. Okay, right here. All right, so we closed above this key level here, but if we manage to break below it, then obviously we're heading lower. Okay, and at that point we get a little bit of liquid. We can head towards 578. Lowest I'm looking at is right here at around 573. Now, what I will say is that bulls are very much present before this gap. This huge bullish candle right here, we're probably going to need some really bad news to stop these guys out. All right, so I wouldn't be surprised if, and the key word here is if we head lower and we head towards this area, that bulls are going to fight for this. Okay, and we could head back towards the upside. Maybe we get one more dead cat bounce towards the upside. Maybe we even start rallying. But ultimately, once you get down here, if you are bearish, you want to be careful, because these bulls right here, all right, they're not going to play around. Okay, they're going to fight for this, I imagine. All right, unless we get some absolute devastating news, but they're going to fight for this gap fill. If we manage to stop these guys out of their position, chances are you're heading towards 565. Huge imbalance in this area, and that's where I imagine we're going to go if we manage to stop these guys out of their position. As far as upside goes, guys, it goes without saying, 592 was your key level. You saw the imbalance here. You saw we tried to pump above 592. We could not make it happen. We managed to get above 592. 595 is your next key level. From there, you're obviously looking at 598, 600. I honestly thought we would at least at minimum see 598 before heading back towards the downside. So a little bit surprising there, but ultimately I did expect this drop to happen sometime in May, and it looks like it's finally here. So looking at the triple Qs, 515 was your key level. We talked about this level all the time, 515. All right, as long as you stay below 515, you're heading towards 510. Lowest I'm looking at right now, at least between tomorrow and about Friday, is about 508, but we can head much lower, and I would be looking at the next key level of 503. Once again, if you look here, bulls are very much present down here. So if you're bearish or you're looking to be bearish, once you get in this area, do what you want. At the end of the day, it's your account, but I would take profit. I'm not saying we're going to head here. I'm just saying if we head here. All right, I do think we're going to head lower. It's just a matter, I just need more confirmation on how much lower we're going to go. Okay, for now I'm looking at 508, between 508 505. That's what I'm looking at, as long as we stay below 515. All right, can we head lower? Absolutely. As far as upside goes, okay, upside goes, I mean, you could form a potential double bottom here. I'm not counting on it. You got your bottom here, your neckline is very clean at 522. But I don't think that's going to happen. You have this massive bearish engulfing candle. You have huge bearish volume here. I do think we're going to head lower, but let's say I'm wrong. We need to mount and hold above 515. From there, it goes without saying, you just want to see a break above 522. We'll just say 523, and then from there you're heading towards 525 and then 530s, 533 max I'm looking at. All right, if we're talking about upside. So that's what we're looking at for the triple Qs. Next up is the VIX. VIX looks ready to go. It looks like it wants to pump towards the upside. You can argue that there's an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. Me personally, I don't think the VIX really follows patterns like that. It follows like resistance, support, in my opinion. It may like wick past them a bit here and there, but ultimately the VIX does respect levels. But as far as like patterns and things like that, I don't think the VIX really cares for them. It's a volatility index, so it makes perfect sense. If anything, it disrespects patterns more than respect them. So we'll see. But you can argue this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. You also have a falling wedge pattern here. The measured move for this falling wedge pattern was 21. I talked about this in the last few videos that the VIX can head towards 21, and it looks like that's exactly what it's doing. You have your gap fill here at around 21.8. Now, if we're talking about the measured move for this, you are looking at a move all the way towards 28. So what you want to see here is a break, retest. If the VIX even chooses to retest, it does what it wants, and then from there you're looking at a move all the way towards 28. All right, 28. So I do think the VIX is going to make this happen. I do think the VIX at minimum is going to at least hit about 22. But if we're going crazy, if we're talking about some major downside in the market, 28 is the target I am looking at. So it leads me to talk about Bitcoin. So something I mentioned yesterday in the Discord is that it feels like Bitcoin is kind of separating itself from the market. Given that Coinbase pretty much joined the SPX, it kind of feels like Bitcoin is kind of separating itself. Not gonna be speaking too soon, but one target I did tell you guys about was 109K, 108K, 109K, and we're here. All right, we had this beautiful cup handle broke out. So from here, I can't tell you where Bitcoin is going to go, honestly. If Bitcoin manages to break and retest above, we'll just say 110K, because that's your major psych level. I mean, the sky is the limit at that point, guys. Like, seriously, the sky is the absolute limit. You go to the monthly time frame here on Bitcoin, I mean, there's nothing but space and opportunity. I mean, look at look how much you got here. This is why I think Bitcoin is going to head towards 200K sometime this year. Because I mean, you get above 110K, the sky is the absolute limit. All right, I don't think it's going to happen overnight, obviously, but again, that is a key level you want to look for. Once you get above 110K, you're pretty much in price discovery mode. You can hit whatever you target you need to hit, 120K, 130K. It could just keep going. Okay, so we'll see. But for now, it's just pretty much fighting this level, or bulls are trying to fight this level. Bears are fighting back. So we'll see. But yeah, Bitcoin, I got nothing else for it at this point, guys. It hit my target. That's all I got. Okay, that's really all I have for it. If you look at the crypto total market cap here, something else we talked about as well. Like I said, it needs to break above about 3.3 trillion. It did exactly that. Now it's at 3.5 trillion. But again, I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter if Bitcoin breaks out as long as you're within this range on the total market cap. So even if Bitcoin gets above, what did I say, 110K, you should pay attention to the total market cap, because this can easily take it back, right? It can easily just do this and just pretty much trap bulls. All right, the market cap can go up here in this range up here and then just trap bulls, and then Bitcoin just tanks. Okay, so just be careful with Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks great. It hit my target, but I just really have nothing else for it until it gets at least above 110K, or it just starts to break completely down. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. All right, few stocks we can look at real quick. Apple. So Apple, I talked about. I did a trade on Apple. I showed you guys the trade on Apple. 200 puts on Apple. I think Apple is going to head towards 198 at a minimum. I don't know if it can head much lower than that. That's my honest opinion. If the market is going to tank, then obviously Apple's going to tank. But right here at around 195, I guess it could hit 195 because you're talking about these bulls right here. But yeah, I can't say much for Apple right now, right? I obviously want Apple to tank because I would want to buy more shares, honestly. I'm very surprised this gap at 220 has not gotten filled yet. So I mean, that's honestly great for the long term. But yeah, when it comes to Apple, lowest it can be we could be looking at is about 195. I do think Apple's going to head lower. Obviously your cycle level is 200. You get below 200, 198, 197, and then from here you're looking at these bulls all in this area. So 195, I personally think 195 is a good buying opportunity for Apple. I'm not going to go crazy, but I will be looking to buy a little bit of shares there. My average is about 140, so I'm not looking to ruin that too much. But yeah, I mean, you got bulls in this area here, you got bulls in this area here, you got bulls all down here. So Apple is going to need some pretty devastating news to break down, or the market just needs to absolutely drag it down. All right, which I'm not really seeing happening right now, but we'll see. All right, so Apple looks okay to the downside, a little bit more downside, maybe 195, and then we'll have to wait and see what happens from there. IWM, IWM. So interesting enough, if you're looking at the daily time frame, IWM could be forming some type of inverse head and shoulders pattern here. Shoulder here, head here, another shoulder here, right? You could bounce off of 198. Lowest we're looking at is about 195 and possibly head towards the upside. Okay. I'm not guaranteeing this is going to happen. If it can be a little bit too obvious, but we'll see. All right. But IWM doesn't look bad. Doesn't look great. It just I'm pretty much neutral on it. Made my money off of it. A lot of Discord members made their money off the downside to own it, so we'll see. But ultimately, IWM has a little bit more downside. I would say that much. About 196 is what I'm looking at. As far as upside goes, your key level to the upside goes without saying 210. You just want to see a break, retest above 210, and then sky's the limit. I mean, this thing can really go crazy towards about 220, 225, 230. I mean, it can really go crazy. So it will be interesting to see if this plays out. You do have a gap fill all the way at 188 as well. So we'll see. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to get filled. IWM can just leave this behind. So we'll see. So that's what I'm looking at for IWM. Nvidia goes without saying, Nvidia needs to hold 130. All right, 130 needs to be held by Nvidia. If Nvidia cannot hold 130, you're looking at some devastating levels. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Before earnings, I genuinely don't think Nvidia is going to leave all these gaps open before earnings. If it does, then I will be worried. I would really be worried, because at that point, it's like, is Nvidia going to fill these gaps for earnings once it alerts earnings? Or is it going to fill some of these gaps? I'm not saying all of them, but at least one of them, like this 117 gap here. Very interesting gap here. Very imbalanced in this area. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Nvidia tries to get rid of this before earnings. Okay, so I'm not guaranteeing it's going to happen. You obviously want your key level of 130 to get broken, and then from there Nvidia can head much lower. All right, so I would say 129 is your key level here. Okay, just to be safe, guys. All right, so right about here is what I'm looking at. So 129, Nvidia gets below 129, you can fall pretty fast towards 122, 123 range. Okay, but yeah, that's what I'm looking at for Nvidia. One thing I told you guys before, every time Nvidia gets within, let's erase all this. Every single time Nvidia gets within the range of these inside bar candles, it rolls over here, rolled over here, it rolled over. All right, so here you broke down, you got within the range of these moose here, and you ended up rolling over. All right, here you got in the range within the range of these 50 Pomeranians here, you ended up rolling over. Okay, here same thing, inside bar candle, rolled over. Here you're doing it all over again. Now it's not a convincing breakdown, all right, until we get below 129, but it pretty much will prove my point that every time you get within the range of these guys, Nvidia just completely rolls over. These guys are chilling. They're at the Bahamas. They're on their yacht getting twerked on. They're living good right now. They're eating good. Okay, every time Nvidia gets in here, they are not worried. They drop this thing. So something you want to pay attention to. I've been mentioning it for quite some time. Hopefully somebody caught on to it. All right, but as far as upside goes, I mean, it goes without saying, Nvidia just cannot hold above 135. I mean, at this point, honestly, you're looking at about 136. Okay, 136. It needs to hold above 136 for once in its life. If it can't do that, then obviously you're going to head down, and bulls are going to give up. But after 136, you're looking at about 140. It got pretty close to 140, but ultimately that's what you're looking at. All right, but pay attention to these guys. Every time you get in the range of these guys, Nvidia just rolls over, so it just gives up. All right, so obviously Nvidia needs some really good news. Okay, so gold. So gold, I told you guys, gold is going to go higher. All right, I still think it's going to go much higher. At this point, I think gold is going to go to 3,400. All right, how it gets there, I don't know. When it gets there, I can't tell you for sure. But yeah, I closed all of my positions on gold, made a decent amount of money on trading this on Forex. So I'm pretty much I'm chilling right now. I made my bag. All right, but what I'm looking at, if we're talking about a entry all over again, I would like to see this around 290 as an entry. 288 may not give it to me. That's fine. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that. But lowest I'm looking at is about 3310. All right, 3310, and then from there, I think gold will probably just roll over and then head back towards the upside. But ultimately, at the end of the day, no matter what I say, I think this thing is going to take off. I think this thing is going to go crazy. I think this thing is going to hit 3,400 minimum. I'm looking at about 3,340, 3,350, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. So bullish on gold. I think it has way more upside to go. Do what you want with that information. Always do your own research, do your own due diligence. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for gold. Google. Google. So I told you guys about Google. Actually, I'm going to look at Google because this is what I talked about in the last video. So Google, I told you guys about Google. It's so weird saying that. I let you guys know that there's a massive bear flag here, right? There is a massive bear flag here. So when you're looking at Goog, and our Discord bot alerted 167.5 calls on Goog, the thing went absolutely ballistic. So congratulations, a lot of Discord members traded that. But yeah, I mean, if the market just so happens to trap bears here, right? Let's say Goog just, I don't know, maybe news comes out tomorrow and bears get trapped real quick, and then we do it all over again. Google can head towards the top here at around 178. Highs we're looking at is 180. We did close above support here at around 169, 168. So very much possible we bounce from here. I'm not counting on it, but it's very much possible. Okay, Google can, and honestly, it can do its own thing. I mean, we saw that it pumped and it kind of left the market behind. All right, so we'll see. But that's what I'm looking at for Goog. I don't really have much for it here. I mean, it's above a key level until it breaks below this. If it breaks below this, then you're looking at a move towards 165 all over again. But yeah, not much to say here. Goog looks okay. It doesn't look bad at all in comparison to everything else. So we'll see. But other than that, that's really all I have. Comments will be open for like the first 5 minutes of the video, and then I will limit them again. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think we're going to dump? Do you think we're going to pump from here? And it was just a quick little liquidity grab, and retail traders are going to buy all over again. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I love to hear you guys' thoughts. And Discord link will be in the description below as well. Until the next video, traders, have a good one.